After the Janna buffs in patch 13.22, a lot of high-ranked Korean Janna players have started running Hail of Blades for her keystone. While it might seem troll at first, it makes a lot of sense because Janna's autos deal bonus damage equal to 30% of her bonus movement speed. The rapid increase in attack speed from Hail of Blades allows you to do a lot of damage. Hail of Blades also ends up scaling nicely because you naturally build items that will give you movement speed on Janna. Currently, the highest LP Korean Janna one trick is Mute. Every game, they go Flash, Barrier with W max, and HoB. I'm not sure what Mute is cooking with Barrier, as I think Heal makes more sense since you get extra movement speed, but they always run it. For the runes, generally the primary is the same with HoB, Cheap Shot or sometimes Taste of Blood, Zombie Ward, and Relentless Hunter. Secondaries are usually changed based on the lane matchup. In this game it was Resolve Secondary, but I've seen them run Sorcery and Inspiration in other matches. Mute rushes tier 2 boots, either Swifties or Ionian, and then for the Mythic they will go either Crown or Shurelias. As for the other items, Mute likes going Medjayas, Chemtech Putrefier, Redemption, and even Zhonya's and Banshees. Every game, Mute likes to put down a ward at level 1 and then recall to get a sweeper. From the games that I have observed, it's never the same area. Sometimes they'll ward the bush top side, the bush bot side. If the enemy team invades, they'll drop it in the enemy jungle. Once they get back to lane, they will usually look to get level 2, so they will auto the wave heavily. Generally for Janna Aphelios vs Ezreal Senna is favored to get level 2 first most of the time, but because they leash, they most likely won't this game. Mute trades with Senna here by opening with W and an auto and backs off to use the rest of the Hail of Blades attack speed on pushing the wave. From my experience, Senna vs Janna feels impossible to trade if you're Janna, but it's really cool seeing Mute not overtrading and playing really smart. Both bot lanes are pushing for level 2 here, and you can see that Mute really likes playing bushes, which is probably why they prefer getting sweeper first. Once Mute hits level 2, they go into a bush and look for a tornado. You'll see them look for tornadoes this way frequently. The way Mute plays this trade is pretty nuts. It might seem like Senna is just inting, but if you look at it from their perspective, you can see that Mute W's the Senna and then immediately walks into the bush to drop vision so Senna can't trade back. Janna waits for Aphelios to reposition so Senna is in both of their auto ranges and then finishes out the HoB autos. Very well played. Even after that great trade, Mute plays pretty laid back. I expected for a more aggressive playstyle to maximize HoB early, but even with 2 potions, Mute plays very passively. Instead of trading with autos and W, they sit back and throw out tornadoes and vision. One important change about the new Janna is that her Q cooldown and mana cost was increased by a lot. You can't spam tornadoes as much anymore, but if you're not using your other abilities and not throwing them out off cooldown like Mute, it's fine. I haven't seen any Janna mains play like this. All of them spam W and E and force trades, but I think in the Senna matchup this is the only way to really play it. You'll never outtrade her in long exchanges and she'll always outsustain and outdamage you. The only time Mute walks up to trade is when they have access to a bush. They'll throw out an ability and immediately walk back. This trade was just a W, but in the next one they use W, auto once, and then back off, not agreeing to use all 3 procs of HoB. Key takeaways from laning: you'll never see them walk up to Q and look to use all stacks of HoB. It's always short trades prioritizing bushes and fully charged tornadoes. One really interesting thing that I've noticed about Mute is that they buy a lot of control wards. I'm not sure if it's a Korean meta thing, but they always buy a control ward or even 2 on first back. I follow the philosophy that buying control wards early on enchanters is a waste unless you have prio all game, but if you check Mute's match history, they always buy them early and lots of them. First time they recall, they will most of the time look for roams and then place their control ward before returning to lane. For teamfighting with HoB Shurelias, it looks like your very standard Janna gameplay. I don't think Mute prioritizes using HoB that much in teamfights just because it's more important to keep your team up and be in a safer position rather than over-forcing it. I was thinking that maybe Mute would only use Shurelias aggressively for more damage on HoB, but you can see them using it here defensively to get out. With the Crown build, Mute's positioning is a lot more aggressive than Shurelias. They are not afraid of frontlining and utilizes HoB procs and autos during teamfights. I know Crown is an anti-burst item, but seeing this was pretty crazy. Janna eats an entire brand combo with Samira not attacking her and she survives. Throughout the game, Mute is not afraid of getting hooked as they will always play forward if they have Crown up. It's interesting to see most of the Korean Janna players take Hail of Blades. As someone that plays a lot of Janna in high ELO, I feel like HoB is okay. If you look at the win rates on Aery compared to Hail of Blades, Aery has a higher win rate with more than double the games. HoB to me feels like one of those things where you get cheesed once by it and then you adapt and don't lose to it again. I think HoB can help with bad matchups like the Senna one, but overall Aery is just better. Also, Janna is just really overtuned right now in general, so I think it's more about her overall strength than keystone that is making her a high win rate champion.